Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, every Thursday, we have a brand new guest on the show talking about their life and their journey through the world of martial arts. My guest today is a Marine and Vietnam veteran, a former New York City Transit Police Officer. He's an author, a film choreographer, and actor. He's a 5-time world champion and a 15-time All-American champion. In 1994, at the age of 51, he competed in UFC number 4 against the legendary Royce Gracie. Please welcome to the show today, Mr. Ron Van Clief. How are you doing today, sir?
Aloha. Very well, thank you.
Good.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I'm excited about this. Been a fan for a long time.
Oh, boy.
So what we like to do with all my guests, we go back to the beginning. I want to know where it first started. Where did that first spark come from, that first interest in martial arts?
Well, I started jiu-jitsu in 1959 with Grandmaster Moses Powell in Brooklyn, New York at the St. John's Community Center when I was 17.
Had you been familiar with martial arts before that?
I was a gymnast.
Oh, very cool. You were definitely into athletics and stuff. So what drew you to martial arts?
I met Moses Powell at the St. John's Community Center. I saw what he did. His martial arts is so for him was so amazing. I had to do it.
So now, before that, did you know much about martial arts? I mean, had you
nothing.
Really? Okay. You just decided to take the plunge and give it a shot. So what? I
was just a gymnast and a swimmer.
What was it once you got into it? What was it about it that made you want to stick with it and keep going? What are some of the things you remember and some of the things you really enjoyed about it?
The unlimited potential that you had, whether mentally, physically, or spiritually, gave you another dimension to work from.
And what was it about that instructor? What are some of the things you remember that those first few classes, what are some of the things you remember doing and what kind of stands out about that first instructor?
Dr. Powell was a realist. He's from the No Frills School of Self-Defense. All of his classes were self-defense based. So as a kid, you get a chance to see real self-defense done by a master. Wow, that's kind of like seeing Batman or Superman in real life. It's amazing for me.
Oh, definitely. So, and how long did you study with him?
2 years before I went in the Marine Corps.
And so I know a lot of people, my guests I've talked to with military backgrounds, they do some type of martial arts in the military. Were you able to do some martial arts studying while you were in the military, or did you have to wait till you got out?
Actually, my drill instructors were karate experts, and so they helped me with the deadlier aspects of self-defense, My real education of different martial arts started in Okinawa, where I studied under Master Shimabuku, who was the founder of Shorin Ryu, Ishin Okinawa Te.
Oh, wow.
The Okinawan Kobudo. And so that's where I got my real start in Kobudo, weaponry and competing,
Okay. And how long were you able to do that? And how long were you in Okinawa?
Well, I was in Okinawa for, I think, either 13 or 18 months.
Oh, wow.
Then went to Vietnam and then Cuba, then Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
And at each of those places, were you able to find more studying or pretty much just the stuff on base?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what happened then after you got out of the military? At that point, you had a few years of martial arts and it was obviously something that you really enjoyed. So what did you seek out after you were done with your military service?
Well, home on leave, I met Dr. Powell one time and he introduced me to Grandmaster Peter Urban. And Peter Urban mentored me until he passed away in 2005.
Oh, wow.
He was the patriarch of the Goju system in America. He's like the Ed Parker for Kempo, but the Peter Urban for Goju. He brought Japanese Goju over, formed American Goju, Urban Goju, and continued the Goju legacy.
So do you remember that, let's see, you start Goju, do you remember your black belt test and kind of what that was like? I'm assuming, back then kind of the... A
lot of sparring, a lot of usable material. even the katas that I learned at that time were more functional than the type of thing you see now, which is more theatrical, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Did a lot of breaking boards, bricks in the box, that kind of stuff in my early days. Since Irvin was a master in breaking, you know, used to skeet shoot boards, throw them up in the air, break them before they fall to the ground, that kind of stuff. He was an amazing man. He introduced me to a style of martial arts called Aikijitsu, which is a combination of judo, aikido, and jiu-jitsu, which I found to be very useful. Got my honorable discharge from the Marine Corps in 1965. I became New York City Transit Policeman. While I was on that job, I did teach self-defense at the police academy.
Okay.
I started competing in 1966.
So what drew you to competition? Was it just your background in gymnastics and already, having a background in competing in athletics, or what was it about the martial arts?
It was just exciting. You know, I competed for 55 years in over 900 tournaments.
Wow. And did you do just sparring, or did you do all aspects? Did you do
sparring,
form?
kata, and weapons?
Okay.
Sure.
And what did you have a preference? Did you like one more over the other? Or?
No.
Okay.
No.
Nice. 900 tournaments. That's impressive. That's really, really cool. And what made you want to teach? I know you said you were teaching self-defense. What made you want to teach martial arts?
I thought martial arts would be a good way to build better human beings through the philosophical and psychological paradigm, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The ability to change the way you think, the way you function, and to develop a no quitting attitude, which I carried through from the Marine Corps. I thought that martial arts was a great human being development tool. And so I thought that I would teach as many people as I could in order to, just continue the legacy of martial arts history and tradition.
So what do you think in all your years in martial arts, what do you think's changed about your teaching style over the years?
Well, teaching has changed a great deal. I see a lot of instructors, they're not in good physical shape. And it seems the higher the rank, the worse shape most are in. I know people in the martial arts for 40 or 50 years. Over that time, some of them have put on over 100 pounds.
Wow.
How can that be? I'm 10 pounds heavier than I was in high school.
Really? That's impressive.
I was 182 in high school, and I'm 192 now.
How have you managed to do that? Are you doing martial arts every day pretty much? Is that how you're staying in shape?
I do martial arts 3 days a week.
Okay.
With Royce Gracie at the Gracie Academy here in Hawaii. And the other 3 days I go to the gym with my wife at Planet Fitness, do weights, bench pressing, squats, dips, 35 minutes of cardio, that kind of stuff. I try to keep a active conditioning program going for myself. In other words, I try to keep my fitness level quotient up to par.
And how did the movies start? How was your first time, and kind of tell that story and how you first got involved in movies as a martial artist?
I started with the Negro Ensemble Company back in 1967 in New York. The Negro Ensemble Company was a company that where they taught acting, playwriting, makeup, background, wardrobe, every aspect of theater was taught at the Negro Ensemble Company. That's where I started my education. I started the Ron Van Clief Company, where we did martial arts films live, like choreographed sequences and complete stories, like a trilogy, that kind of stuff. I did that for the Negro Ensemble Company. I worked in several plays. I was on Broadway in a play called Mule Bone, and then I was on Broadway in a play called Kung Fu.
Oh, really?
It's
okay.
Kind of interesting. Yeah. I started with the East Coast Stuntmen's Association in 1967, where I was the only member that taught martial arts choreography and action sequences for films and TV. I was on Ryan's Hope for 7 years. I was on Oz for 3 years.
Yeah, so I'm looking through your IMDb page and looking at a lot of the movies you've been involved in. The first one that jumped out at me, I was born in the 70s and grew up in the 80s. So one of my all-time favorite movies of the 80s was The Last Dragon. Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon. Yeah, I love that movie, and I had forgot you were in that.
I was very lucky. I had a chance to the director Michael Schultz before we even thought about The Last Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I was contacted by Michael Schultz, the director, who got my number through Barry Gordy, where I had worked at security for Mr. Gordy at different times in my life. And so they hired me to do the martial arts choreography for the film The Last Dragon. luckily, my student Tamar won the role as the last dragon.
That's awesome. I know. I also noticed you did stunts on another one of my favorite movies from the 80s, FX. I love that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
That was a really nice movie, too.
Yeah.
It was a really nice movie.
Sequel was pretty good, too, but the first one was definitely better. That's one.
Yeah, the first one was good.
Yeah, I'll still rewatch it. It's one of those movies that I think it still holds up to this day. So
yeah, whenever it comes on, I try to watch it.
No, that's obviously you've been involved in a lot. Like I said, I'll post your
My first job was on a show called Kojak.
Oh, you were on Kojak? Really?
Yes, I was a cab driver on Kojak, and I knew Telly Savalas and his brother George. They were so nice and kind to me,
See, when I was about 7 years old, I used to ride my bike around my neighborhood with a lollipop pretending I was Kojak.
We love you, baby. That's right. Really nice man. Very pleasant man.
That's cool. Actually, one of the local channels here now plays reruns of that, so I'll have to try to start watching some episodes. Maybe I'll catch your episode. That'd be kind of fun to see.
Well, it's not just one episode. I probably did a dozen episodes on that show.
Oh, wow. Okay, now I'm definitely going to check that out. And then when did the writing books? You've written a handful of books here too. So, I know the one, the Black Heroes of the Martial Arts. Those one that I started
writing in 1980. I wrote a book called The Manual of the Martial Arts, which became the textbook for the Secret Service. So I worked with the Secret Service from 1983 to 1993. I was the senior combatives instructor at the World Trade Center.
Wow.
The New York Secret Service headquarters.
That had to have been kind of cool.
Wonderful. I mean, I had a chance to train thousands of agents,
That's impressive. Talk a little bit about this book, The Black Heroes of the Martial Arts. I was reading about that one. I had never read that one, and that actually sounds like a really interesting book.
Well, I started writing, my first book was The Manual of the Martial Arts, which became a textbook for the Secret Service, and it became a bestseller also. My next book, I wrote a series of books called the Ron Bankley Guidebook of Self-Defense of Martial Arts. And the Ron Bankley Guidebooks, a white book, a green and purple book, a brown book, a black book. After that, I wrote a book called my autobiography, The Hanged Man. And I started writing the Black Heroes books in 1996, which I finished 3, Black Heroes 1, 2, and 3. Presently, I'm working on the documentary, Black Heroes of the Martial Arts. I'm in post-production on another documentary called The Super Weapon 2. It is a sequel to the 1976 Super Weapon 1, the classic. 70% of the people that worked on that film have passed away already.
Wow.
And so I wanted to reboot that title and continue that legacy of great martial arts from all over the world. So I decided that I would not only do just one more feature, but I would do 4 superheroes and make it a series. So we're in Super Weapon 2 now, 3, and 4.
Yeah, I'm reading and looking through all these on your website, and that's
and my other project that I've been working on for about 5 years is the Tao of the Black Dragon. It's an animated film. It will be a 90-minute animated film of myself, the Black Dragon, with my voice, and it's like a Black James Bond character.
Okay.
With all the special effects, the gimmicks, the flying shoes, all kinds of stuff,
And when are you hoping to have that ready to go?
Well, that's going to be ready next year.
Okay, is that going to be
finished?
Streaming online somewhere? Is that going to be in movie theaters?
It's going to be in movie theaters. It's going to be on all the pay-per-view channels, like Amazon, Apple TV, Showtime, HBO, Cinemax, all of that. And on top of that, the other project that I've been working on is the Tao of the Black Dragon. It's a video game, and Epic Games just picked that up. So we're going to have that out in March. Big time for me, because March 3rd, I will be in Columbus, Ohio at the Arnold Classic, where I'm being inducted into the International Sports Hall of Fame with LeBron James and Tiger Woods.
Wow, congratulations.
That's a big thing. That's March 3rd to March 6th in Columbus, Ohio.
And that's one thing, Arnold seems to really support the martial arts at his event a lot.
Very nice man.
Yeah.
Very nice. We had a FaceTime yesterday. He's a very nice man.
So I know you've mentioned the Black Dragon a few times, and some of the listeners may not know about your nickname and kind of how you got it. Do you want to kind of tell that story where the name the Black Dragon came from?
I fought in tournaments since the early 60s, and I was at a tournament in New York. I had just lost to a gentleman by the name of Joe Hayes, an amazing, amazing martial arts person. He beat me by 1 point in the finals. And so he was the grand champion, but I had won the heavyweight division. When I got back to my seat, Bruce was sitting next to S. Henry Cho, one of my teachers, who taught Taekwondo, said that you're the Black Dragon. I said, I don't know what you mean by that. I just lost. He said, that has nothing to do with it. You're the Black Dragon. So it stopped. Less than 10 years later, I started in the film The Black Dragon. So thanks, Bruce, And he was a pretty cool guy. We had a chance to work out several times, had a chance to spar with him and do some chisao, things. So he was a really cool guy, a really cool guy. He was ahead of his time.
So yeah, definitely. I've read that a lot, and I've interviewed a few people who knew him and got to train with him.
And a very pleasant scholar. He's a scholar.
Your opinion then, I mean, how there's so much online arguments over, a lot of these young kids these days don't think he was as good as people claim he was. How good was Bruce Lee?
He was great. He was great.
So do you think he could have competed with today's martial artist if he was, in his prime nowadays?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, he would have been one of the best lightweights around.
Talking about competing and fighting. So in 1994, you decided at the age of 51 to take a chance. And do
51 years old and 11 months. 51 and 11 months.
Wow. So almost 52. So first of all, how did that happen? Did they contact you? Did you contact them? And what?
I watched number 1 on pay-per-view, and I watched number 2 on pay-per-view. Semaphore Productions had an office in New York, and it was right down the street from a gym that I used to work in called the Radu Physical Culture Center, where I taught a lot of movie stars, Matthew McConaughey, Cindy Crawford, Robert Kennedy, just a real long list of movie stars. Sarah Jessica Parker, just hundreds of actors and actresses and movie stars. Vanessa Williams, Donald Trump's wife, Marla. I taught her for 3 years. So it was a great place to train people. Radu was the physical culture guru of the 80s in the United States. You knew anybody that was somebody, they came to his gym. It's a pretty interesting place. Okay. The most well-equipped gym I've ever. And I worked with Radu for about 10 years.
So what made you decide that at that age to jump into a cage and basically fight full contact?
I saw number 1 and number 2, and I said, who would not want to do it? No rules, no weight division, no time limit. I mean, what person that considers himself a martial artist would not want to do that? Really? I was like a kid in the candy store. That was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And the fact that I lost to Royce Gracie doesn't mean anything. It was a wonderful experience. And if it were not for Royce, I would have not been able to see the technology of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And I've been studying Gracie Jiu-Jitsu since from 2011 to now.
Wow. Over 20 years.
Elson Gracie, Royce's older brother, here in Hawaii. He had some 12,000 students in Hawaii.
Wow.
He fought for 25 years, was undefeated for 17 years.
Yeah, I remember watching UFC 4 because we used to get all of them on pay-per-view.
It was a great experience. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that?
Oh, yeah.
I've taken a lot of shit over the years. Royce kicked my ass, this and that, that. It doesn't really matter what anyone says. No. It was something I wanted to do. I did it, and I'm very happy that I did it. And after I fought Royce, I became the commissioner of the UFC. I created the super fight. I did a lot of stuff. I created all the basic rules that they now use in the different athletic organizations. The UFC. I represented the UFC in court, even against Senator McCain. He called me a pit bull. I mean, being the commissioner of the UFC, I was able to create not just the super fight, but I created the cards for number 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Wow.
It was a great run. It was a great run.
So what are your thoughts now on the current UFC and what it's become since the 90s?
I don't really enjoy the UFC as much as I used to. I enjoy the athletes and the competitors, but there's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of biased kinds of deals done. Some fighters get $500,000, another guy gets 2,000. It's it's kind of weird,
Yeah.
I don't like where it's headed. There's so much shit talking, cursing at the press conferences, and they're just acting like fools, And this is not what I consider true martial arts to be, because they have no moral code of ethics,
No,
It's
I
sad
agree
to see.
completely. I used
And
to
some
watch
of
it
them are so talented. It's so talented, man.
100%. I agree. Like I said, I used to watch it all the time, and I just don't watch it anymore. And it's not the same, and it kind of
And I
has
have a
that.
lot of my friends that fight in the UFC.
Yep.
A lot of friends that fight in the UFC. And yeah, the event itself is spectacular. It's still spectacular. Some of the best MMA people in the world fight in the UFC. You know?
So do you ever get to watch any local? Do they have local MMA in Hawaii? Do you ever get to watch
Oh yeah,
local
yeah,
events?
yeah. I've been to a few events here in Hawaii.
Okay, that's
It's actually quite popular. I started competing, let's see, 79 now. I started competing 4 years ago in jiu-jitsu.
Oh, really?
I've competed in about 12 or 13 tournaments.
Okay.
I competed, I have 7 or 8 medals. No gold ones yet, silver and bronze. But I competed 2 years ago, actually just before the pandemic,
Okay.
at the World's Championship in Las Vegas.
Wow.
I lost my second match, but it was it was my first time competing as a purple belt. And I was a white belt 3 years. I was a blue belt 5 years. And I've been a purple belt about 2.5 years now.
Congratulations. That's really cool.
So it's I took off my black belt, my red belt, whatever you want to call it. I took it off and put on the white belt because I felt as though I wanted to develop a ground game and balance my martial arts education. I spent over 50 years doing stand-up game, and I realized after fighting Royce at the UFC4 that I needed to develop the ground game, and that's what I started to do from that point on.
So did you do, before you started at your current school in 2011, did you any other ground training after you fought in the UFC?
Oh yeah, I trained with Royce Gracie in New York.
Okay.
I trained with several different people.
Okay.
It's a spectacular sport. I mean, it's really a spectacular sport.
Oh, definitely.
And you can do it forever. I mean, I see guys in their 50s. A guy just started class yesterday. He's 61 years old.
Helio.
Just started.
How old is Helio? And he was still teaching and stuff. So yeah.
Well, I rolled with him when he was 95, so I know he was still very active. The day he passed away, he had went and trained at home and trained at the dojo, came home, went to sleep, didn't wake up. I mean, what a wonderful way to go.
Yeah. Wow,
and a really, really nice man. A super sweetheart guy who, while he's talking to you, he's smiling at you, telling you to calm down, don't use so much strength, to just relax, flow with it, A really, really nice man.
Just to be able to say you got to roll with Helio Gracie, that's cool. That's really, I've met a couple of the Gracies at some events over the years, but never got to roll with any of them. So let's say someone came up to you and said, they didn't know you, and they just said, hey, I hear you do martial arts. I'm thinking about getting involved myself. I've never done it before. What are some tips you'd give them? What to look for, what to avoid?
I would recommend Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
I really would. I think that they have a very good self-defense program. Their combatives are really well designed. Self-defense to them it looks like a kata when you do it, but it's actually self-defense techniques that you do under certain situations. So there's probably about 140 of them. I know maybe 50 of them now. As my teacher, Ron Shiraki, and Professor Helson Gracie, they said that I will make black belt in another 5 years.
Wow.
So I'm working on developing my combatives. The test for black belt is really your knowledge of the combatives. I've been concentrating, I guess, for the past year and a half on learning all of the 140 or 150 of them, which I may never be able to get all of them, but there is a central train of thought that follows the technology in basic jiu-jitsu. So it allows me to pick up techniques just by watching, that they're almost natural instinctive movements. And it's a lot simpler than karate self-defense. A lot less moving parts. The objective is to disable them and get them down to the ground where you can finish them off, I'm enjoying it. It's my happy place. When I go to the dojo, it makes me so supremely happy to be there, no matter how bad my day was. When I get on the floor and I start to roll, it's all good. Life could not be better.
That's good. Good for you.
Last night I got 3 6-minute rounds. It was really good. Then we did drills for about an hour before I got a chance to roll. Okay. So it's really fantastic, I had eye surgery last Tuesday, so I'm wearing some protective goggles on my eyes. Other than that, I'm enjoying it.
Very well. That's good. That's the important thing.
That's been kicking my butt for the past 9 years. So it was really good. And I didn't submit it, but he said, Ron, you were really close. He said, another 5 seconds, I would have tapped.
Wow. That's
And I
cool.
had him in the north-south choke, and it was really kind of cool, you know.
Yeah. And as long as you're enjoying it, that's the important thing. You're enjoying it and you're learning new
There's
skills.
nothing better to do, you know, for me. There's nothing better to do. So fortunate to be able to still get on the floor and roll with the guys because everybody's 20 years old. You know, I mean, there's nobody in even in their 50s in the dojos.
Wow.
You know?
That's too bad, actually. Well, hopefully we can get some more in there.
It's sad, but the few people I've seen that were 50 or late 40s, they were in terrible physical shape.
Okay.
You know, they were capable of what they were doing, but the endurance wasn't good. Their strength ratio wasn't good compared to their ability. You know, as you age, your body changes, and you have to do more than you did when you were, you know, take supplements every day, and make sure that I do something every single day for my fitness.
That's good.
Every single day, no matter what.
So when COVID hit, were you able to keep training? Did they do virtual classes?
Oh, the dojo closed for a year.
So then what'd you do during that year?
I have a Chuck Norris Total Gym at home.
Okay.
I took that out of the box and I got on there every day. And I ran, I rode my bike, I swim a lot. So, I mean, you can do stuff, but it doesn't help you out for when you get back to jiu-jitsu. Because when I went back after a year and 3 months off, I was really endurance, my wind, my techniques, my timing, everything was off, you know?
Oh, even just the cardio. I mean, like you can run and bike all you want, but that's different than rolling on the ground cardio. It's not the same.
That doesn't do shit for you when you're rolling with a 260-pound guy.
Yeah.
My sparring partner in the dojo is 6'8". He's 35 years old.
Wow.
And he weighs 340. His name's Alejandro. Imagine 6'8". He is an amazing guy to work with. When he puts you in side control, you need a derrick or a cramp to get up out of that. No matter how much you frame or whatever you want to call it, you cannot get up from that. I've tried to choke him, and I got him in the guillotine. When you have a 24-inch neck, it's real hard to close the choke.
Wow. Sounds like fun, though.
One day, he picked me up like he'd turn over an eggs in a pan and threw me flat on my back on the floor in the dojo. I actually broke 5 ribs that day.
Oh, wow.
And then I also bit through my tongue.
Ouch.
6 stitches in my tongue. So
but it was fun.
There's not injuries. I mean, you know, it's a combative sport.
Yeah.
You know, there's no kicking and punching, but a lot of the manipulations, I mean, I was choking dummy for 2 years when I started there. Everyone. Choke. Took 2 years for me to be able to defend the choke, you know? And then they go to the armbar, and then they go to Kimura and omoplata, and you know, and crucifix. You know, it just keeps go. It goes on and on and on and on and on. And that's the beauty of the art of jiu-jitsu. So I'm enjoying it. I've never been this happy on the mat.
That's great. Oh, that's the important thing. So in all your years of martial arts, if you had to pick, or most of my guests can't pick just one, but if you had to pick one martial artist to put at the top of your list for someone you truly admire, who would that be?
Ooh, I guess it would be Grandmaster Peter Urban. He had the most influence over me. We actually were roommates for 3 years at his dojo on William Street in New York. Got divorced with my second wife. I went to live with Sensei Urban in the dojo, and it changed my complete life to see how he was, how he really was. You know, and he was a prolific author. He was a chess champion. He trained with Yamaguchi in Japan. You know, I mean, he trained with Masayama.
Wow.
All of these great stories and the great history and legacy behind him. He gave me so much that I'm still working on that material to this day. He's the one that inspired me to write my first out of 15 books.
Well, it's a good person to pick then.
He was an amazing man. He passed away in 2005 from cancer. Now, I've been so fortunate. I trained with the Remy Presas. I trained in the style called Modern Arnis, which is a combination of Silat and Kali and all these other blade and stick wood weapon things. Amazing, you know. I started studying Wing Chun with Bruce Lee, and he introduced me to Yip Man in Hong Kong. I lived in Hong Kong 10 years, so I had a chance to train with Yip Man.
Wow.
Yip Chun and both the sons. So I kept up my Wing Chun there with Grandmaster Leon Ting. I'm still training in Wing Chun under Grandmaster Samuel Kwok. and the pure Ip Man lineage. So I'm trying to stay active. I know that karate's too dangerous at my age to do,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I've had several injuries. I had my eye knocked out in a socket. I was sparring with Billy Bunce about years ago. He kicked me, and my own thumb went in my own eye and pulled my left eye out of my socket,
Ow.
and it fell into my left hand.
Dang.
So imagine in front of Billy Bunce's students, maybe 20 or 30 black belts, and about 50 students. We're sparring for like a half hour. I sparred with like 15 black belts. Then I sparred with Billy again, and bang, thumb hit my own eye. My eye came out of my socket. I'm walking on my hands and knees in Billy's dojo, bleeding on his mat and trying to push my eyeball back in the socket.
Wow.
Wow, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
To this day, I'm still suffering from that. I just had my 4th surgery this year on my right eye.
Yeah, that could have been probably could have been a lot worse. I mean, but
yes, I could have lost my sight totally then. Seems that I will lose my sight eventually in my eye, but it's going to take time.
So, do you have a favorite philosophy you learned in martial arts over your lifetime?
My favorite philosophy is something that Sensei Urban taught me when I was like 15 years old. He said, "Let's go, keep going, and there is nothing else with your life." So let's go is the initial impetus for you to do your best all the time in every way, in every category. And keep going means never stop. Quitting is not an option. And there is nothing else is life. You just have to keep going until you become extinct.
That's a good answer. Yeah, I love that question because I've never had anyone give the same answer on that one. So it's one of my favorite questions to ask. So now you can't pick one of your 15 books. Do you have a favorite martial arts book yourself that you've read?
Yes, the Karate Dojo, one of Sensei Urban's books.
Oh, okay.
It stands the test of time. It is a classic. It tells you about the history of martial arts, the beginnings of judo, jiu-jitsu, karate, kung fu, the philosophy and the psychology of martial arts scholars. Sensei Urban was he was a genius. He was another person like Bruce Lee, was way ahead of his time.
Okay.
He was an amazing man. Besides being a great martial artist, he was an accomplished pianist. And I used to sit in the dojo. He had a piano and he would play Chopin and different things. He was an amazing man.
Yeah,
He's the godfather of my first son.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I actually just found the book. I've actually never read that one, so I'll have to add that to my list.
Karate Dojo is a classic. Okay. It is one of the best ever done.
No, I will definitely.
He also did one, the psychology of martial arts, which is really good.
Nice. I will write that down and add it to my list. I love adding to my library. Whenever my guests usually recommend a book, I try to go and get it. I'm finishing a book now called Sentences, The Layman's Guide to Zen Psychotherapy. I'm about 1 month from finishing it. So I will send you a copy of it, Brian, when it's finished. I think perfect. You might like it. It's a inspirational and motivational book. Okay.
So
I like those.
Doesn't have anything to do with martial arts at all.
No, I love books like that. I love motivational. Yeah. I read a lot of those. Probably half my library is motivational books. So the other half's martial arts books. Do you have a favorite martial arts TV show?
Not really.
Okay. Not really. Weren't a fan of like Kung Fu or any of those shows or Walker, Texas Ranger?
Actually, no. I knew Bruce at that time. I knew David Carradine, and I didn't like what happened. To the script.
That's understandable.
So I wasn't really a fan of the show. And I knew David quite well, actually. I met him maybe a dozen times. Ed Parker introduced him to me at the International Championship in Long Beach.
Ah, nice.
7.
I've been to that once. I was out there in August of '95. I went out and drove out from Minnesota to attend that tournament.
Ed Parker took me to his dojo, and I met Elvis Presley. When Elvis Presley got his master's belt, I was there with Bill Wallace and John Belushi.
Okay.
And Ed Parker and that whole crew. I met Red West. And Elvis was an interesting man. He was grossly overweight at the time, but he was interesting in that he loved Kempo.
Yes, he did.
He funded the internationals for all the years that it did it.
Yeah, no, he was a huge supporter of martial arts and
a nice man, very pleasant. He was very kind,
I never got to meet Ed Parker. I met Ed Parker Jr. and he was actually a guest on my show, and I've visited his home.
I trained at Mr. Parker's dojo in Pasadena. Interesting. I lost one time to at the Long Beach Internationals. I
Mhm.
lost to a gentleman by the name of Steve Muhammad.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, I lost my second match to him, and Bruce Lee told me that Steve had the fastest hands he had ever seen.
Really?
That's what Bruce Lee told me to my face.
Wow.
He said that Steve Muhammad had the fastest hands he's ever seen. So that was
That's,
kind of cool, you know.
oh yeah, definitely.
And over the years, Steve and I have worked several times. We were in Panama together for a month, teaching the military down there. You know, there's so much talent, Brian, in
Yes.
the martial arts now. There really is so much talent.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's just more and
Uh,
more. And now with
I,
with the internet and everything, it's easier to reach out and connect with people and find that talent too, which is good.
you know, in August, I held my Ultimate Warriors Hall of Fame, where I inducted 114 people into the Hall of Fame.
Hmm.
And I had a chance really to understand that the global impact of martial arts is limitless.
Yep.
People were on with me on that Zoom all over the world: Spain, Japan, Philippines, Africa, Kuwait, Dubai, Turkey, Amsterdam. You know, I mean, it was just an amazing. We had 47 countries on our feed.
Wow.
So I decided to do Ultimate Warriors Hall of Fame 2, which is going to be February 19th. I'm midway in selections of my inductees right now.
Okay.
I've selected 116 or 26, but I'm going to stop at 150. So I'm still looking for talented people from all over the world that would like to be represented in this Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'm looking on your website at the list, and I recognize a lot of these names. There's a few of these people that have been on my show or are going to be on my show soon. That's
Oh, we had Mike Stone. We had everybody on the first one. I mean, it was really
wow.
Suki Rothrock, Doug Wilson, Benny the Jet.
Benny.
And I just got a call from Steven Seagal 2 days ago that he's going to be in our Hall of Fame February 19th event.
Okay.
So that's really cool. And also Wesley Snipes.
Nice. Yeah, I just saw Cynthia Rothrock's name on here. I'm going to be interviewing her in about a week and a half. So.
Oh, she's a wonderful lady. I've known her for 40 years.
Ernie Reyes Sr. I actually met Ernie Reyes Sr. and Ernie Reyes Jr. in like 1991 at the Diamond Nationals Karate Tournament in Minneapolis.
Ernie and his son, I casted them to work on The Last Dragon. I hired Ernie Sr. and Jr. to work on The Last Dragon to do choreography and to do a fight sequence. They were excellent. They were truly excellent.
Dan Severn, I actually judged one of Dan Severn's fights many years ago.
Dan Severn and I, we did our first event, the UFC Fight Camp, 1995. Imagine, 1995.
Wow.
With Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn, Royce Gracie, and myself.
Wow.
It was really spectacular.
No, that's an impressive list. I can't wait to see the updated one. A final question for you. And this one, you can't pick one of the ones you've been in, though, but do you have a favorite martial arts movie?
You know, my favorite martial arts movie is Mad Monkey Kung Fu.
You're the second person that said that. I had another guest say that last year, too. That's cool.
That is a classic film. I knew the choreographer when I lived in Hong Kong. The star of the film was an Chinese Olympic gold medal champion. He was truly amazing. If you see it, it's got some of the best choreographed sequences ever.
I need to watch that.
It stands up to any film.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually seen it. I know one guest talked about it, and I looked for it and couldn't find it.
Choreography was way better than the Last Dragon or Enter the Dragon.
Really?
Way better. Not even in the same hemisphere.
I will definitely have to find that one. So
it is a classic.
Now I definitely want to watch it. That's for sure. So I'll watch any martial arts movie. I'll give it a shot. And
I had a chance to study with one of the teachers, choreographers of that film when I lived in Hong Kong. He was called the Monkey King, and he was like a 4'9" guy that jumped up on my shoulders and palmed me in the top of my head.
Wow!
During the sparring one day.
Nice.
And he actually jumped up and spring, like he had a spring in his legs, and landed on my shoulders and palmed straight down into the top of my head. My neck hurt for weeks.
Wow, that's impressive. You've definitely led an amazing life, and I'm so glad you're still doing martial arts and still enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it more now than probably ever, because when you're young, you're just excited, and it's just such a wonderful new experience. What's happening now is I'm appreciating the martial arts more so. Going to the dojo is my highlight of the day. It's truly my happy place. Even no matter how down I am or whatever, I go to the dojo do some drills, do 3 or 4 rolls. I'm the happiest person on the planet to be able to do this at my age.
That's great. I mean, that's
79 next month.
wow.
It's not a joke.
I mean,
there's no one near my age in the dojo. Even Royce Gracie, he's 10 years younger than me.
Oh, that's great. I mean, that's so impressive. And like you said, the important thing is you're having fun and you're enjoying it. That's it. That's the thing that matters the most.
The most important thing is that you're enjoying it. What I get from martial arts is not just the charge from using the energy, but I get a great feeling of family in the dojo. We call it ohana here in Hawaii. It's the Gracie ideology is so different from the martial arts or from any martial arts I've ever studied. In the dojo, we're all family. And when we roll together, there are people on the side telling you what to do and how to get out of different moves. They're helping you. You never get this in the karate dojo. They just beat you into the ground. Do you know what I mean? It's a wonderful, I'm blessed to be able to go and train with Royce Gracie at Ron Shiraki Academy. It's just wonderful. It truly is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I'm so happy. I have a couple of websites, ronvancleet.com, and the new website is called blackdragonfan.com.
Oh,
I'm trying to finish with a martial arts app called Instant Self-Defense, which will be probably finished next month. So I'm trying to just create a legacy that people will be able to look at and see the line of martial arts that goes completely through my life.
Well, I will add each of those websites into the show notes when we publish this episode in a couple of weeks, and make sure that people have the links for all of them. I'm copying them and pasting them in there right now so I don't forget them. Yeah, no, I will definitely any other links you can think of in the next couple of weeks that you want me to add, I'll put.
Just ronvancleet.com or blackdragonfan.com.
Okay, yep, I got both of those on there.
And I'm on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff.
Perfect. And I'll put your IMDb page too, so people can check out like the movies and stuff you've done and everything too. So that'll be good. But I just want to thank you. It's been so cool to hear your story. I'm hoping
I'm getting ready to do a zombie movie.
Oh, can you imagine? Really?
This will be my first one. Leo Farm wrote a film, The Savage 7, which we're going to shoot in June in the Philippines and in California. Savage 7. We are zombie hunters, like paratrooper special ops guys that have special talents. Some even have superpowers. Big Suicide Squad with more martial arts.
Very cool.
So I'm excited with that. And then I just got offered a role with Michael Jai White in a film called Make a Difference.
Okay.
He says it's boys in the hood with martial arts and not gangs. The role that I'm playing is my first teacher, Dr. Moses Powell.
Oh, wow.
So this is very special for me to be able to play my teacher on the big screen. It's like awesome,
Oh, yeah, that's really cool. I mean, anytime you can do something like that and kind of connect to your past that way and show respect, that's really, really cool.
So life is good. My wife, Kathy, my son, Kai, my oldest son, Shihan, he's a poet. He works for Apple TV. He just wrote his first martial arts movie. Super happy with my wife, Kathy. She's a great motivator, and she's helped me get through my PTSD and my dementia and stuff. Onset dementia about 3 years now. Messes with your memory, and that's why I have to keep active. It's a sad way to go, though.
Yeah.
When you're losing your mind. My mother passed away last April at 97, and I took care of her for 8 years here in Hawaii, and she had advanced dementia. Didn't know who I was, and it was a very, very sad situation. Yeah, it was wonderful to take her from Brooklyn and have her live with me and spend the last 8 years with me here in Hawaii.
I'm hoping some of my older listeners will hear your story, and some of the ones who think I'm too old to do this, I'm too old to do martial arts, and I'm hoping they'll hear about you.
Imagine I walk into Royce Gracie's dojo at 67 years old.
Nice.
All I see were kids on the floor. Kids, the 30s under. You know what I mean? And I said, you know what? I have got to do this. This is it. I found it. And I ran into Helson at Costco. I was buying a flat screen TV, and I turned around and I saw him.
That's great.
And the amazing thing is, I hadn't seen him since I fought Royce. He kissed me on the cheek after I fought Royce at UFC 4. That was the first time that I saw him. He said, Ronnie. He ran over and he kissed me. It was like, oh, wow. So you have to come to my dojo, and I've been there ever since.
That's awesome.
And I will make black belt. I'll be 83 or 85 at the time, but I'm in no rush.
Oh, as long as you stick with it, that's the important thing. I mean, you just keep
after I
with
make black belt, I will continue my training, but I will move into even a softer style of maybe Tai Chi or Qigong. It's injury prone,
right?
You know.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. It's
just because I'm old. If I was younger, sometimes I do 4 or 5-minute rounds in one class. The next day, I'm walking around like I'm 100 years old. Everything hurts. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I don't think you know what that means. Everything hurts. Like I got up this morning, my hands, my wrists, my elbows, my neck. Like I sat on my neck last night in the north-south position, trying to put me in the Kimura. So it's just spectacular. I mean, it's just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way of spending your last years on the planet, being able to develop yourself in so many different ways. Spectacular.
It's just an impressive story. You're inspirational, and I'm so glad we got to do this. I truly appreciate taking the time.
I'm going to be 80 years old before we know it, and I'm going to compete again as a black belt. I made it a goal to when I make black belt to compete one more time.
But you'll have to let me know when you do. I definitely want to know how it went and how you did.
Yeah, well, I want to go back to the Worlds again in Vegas.
Wow.
And the competition is stiff there. Oh my goodness. Some of the guys are so good, But still, there's no one near my age. When I went, I've been to the Worlds a couple of times. At about 50, that's about the oldest I've ever seen actually competing.
Well, Ron, I just want to thank you for your time. This has been so much fun. I've loved hearing your story.
It's my pleasure. You ever want to contact me, you got my phone number. My email is ronvancleef@yahoo.com for anyone interested in continuing the conversation. I'm here. I'm going to be active for whatever time I have left. I'm so appreciative and grateful that I'm still able to do this.
Oh,
Most of my friends that I started martial arts, more than half have passed away. With the other 50%, I'd say 60 or 80% of them have had heart attacks, strokes. They're in walkers and wheelchairs and canes and all that stuff.
Wow.
So I'm the last. I looked at a picture 2 days ago that we took back in 1990 with 7 grandmasters. And when I look at it, I'm the only person still alive in that picture. And that's kind of sad. Because Ronald Duncan, Michael D. Pasquale, Professor Wally J, Professor V, all of them have passed away. People don't realize that that's a legacy. That's a complete history of martial arts, the golden age of martial arts in America. Golden age. That's why I'm doing Super Weapon. That's why I write Black Heroes of the Martial Arts. Because I don't want people to not know or forget the history of martial arts in the world. And that's where I am, Brian.
Hey,
thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank
really,
you.
I don't really do many interviews.
Oh, I'm glad we were able to do it. I loved hearing your story, and as soon as the episode is edited and ready to go, I will send you the link. So,
all right.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.